Hey, what's good, people? This is Holy Warrior Yancey, and this is Holy Warrior Yancey Productions. I just want to encourage anyone listening to me on this video that if you're going through, that God can indeed pull you through. And I know that when you're in the midst of a situation that is tragic, that is just mind blowing, that when you face something and your spirit is crushed, or you just feel with anxiety or stress and don't know what to do, when you're going through all that, it can seem like things will never get better. But I'm here to tell you that they will. There's a road that you have to go through. And some roads are easier to navigate than others. But you'll get through eventually if you don't fold. And it's okay to break down. You know, some things that life throws at us, we just really have to cry. You know, we really just have to scream, let that hurt out, let that anger out. We really gonna have to vent. Mind you, we need to be tactful when it comes to venting, that we don't say things that we'll later regret. But then again, when you're going through, who knows what you'll do, you know, depending on the situation. So, all in all, you have to cry out to God. I mean, really, really, really cry out to God. I'm going to share some of the things that I went through in one of the hardest events of my life. And that was when my marriage failed. I'm telling you, I know that people can die from a broken heart. I mean, the hurt and pain that I felt, like literally, I felt like my heart will literally, you know what I mean, will fail. Like, I think of the Proverbs, how they talk about a cheerful heart is a good medicine. But who can, you know, stand with a crushed spirit? Something like that. I mean, my spirit was crushed. I was truly broken. The circumstances that brought about it, the divorce that is, I mean, it literally turned my world upside down and set it ablaze. So I was dealing with that, and it was devastating to me. Devastating to the point that anything associated with that time period, it instantly filled me with horrible memories and bad feelings, whether it been a movie or a song from that time period. It took me years to get over that. And I can honestly say it was nobody but God that got me through. Healing is a journey. Forgiveness is a journey. It's something about our hearts. I see why the Bible tells us, above all things, guard our hearts. Our hearts are so complex that it's normal for people not to really know their heart, not knowing what you'll do in certain circumstances, or not knowing the evil within your heart, you know, not understanding some of your own ways. I'm telling you, the heart is just so complex. But anyway, like I was saying, healing and forgiveness is a journey because of our hearts. But going through, one of the things that really got me through was just my personal relationship with God. And something that I always done in my relationship with God. And back in 1992, God was pulling my heartstrings to accept Him, to accept Christ. And a year later, you know, in August of 93, I accepted Christ. But something that I always did, I would just talk to God. I would talk to God out loud and open, like He was literally there. I mean, after all, you know, nothing's hidden from God. He is there. He sees all. He knows all. Omnipresent. And I remember having conversations with God, and I'm just going to keep it real. You know, how my marriage failed, what happened. This is something that I didn't understand because I prayed to God to specifically protect my marriage from such things. You know? And I know what some people may think, you know, what you fear will come upon you. But I prayed about this certain situation, but I wasn't in fear. In fact, I was so naive, you know, I never thought it would happen to me. But it did. And I was crushed. But as I was saying, what got me through was just crying out to God. And I cried out to God about things I didn't understand. I cried out to God about how hurt I was or how angry I was. You know, going through a divorce changed your whole family dynamic, you know. You go from being a family to being separate. And being separate is not easy because we were still bound by our children. So still had to communicate and work together for the sake of the kids. And I've been through every situation with my children, having them half the month, you know, every other week, having them half the week, having them every weekend, having them every other weekend. as time went on, she moved and I moved, and kids go back and forth between us. And though it took a few years, God got me over what happened in marriage. But something that I never got over, something that still doesn't sit right to me, something that still hurts me to this very day, is the fact that I'm not with my kids 24/7. And I'm going to be open. I'll go to God and I plead with God. Like, really just like go to God and be like, God, I don't understand. How come my biological father, who, with all due respect and God rest, he had his demons. And he wasn't really a good father because, he had alcohol. He was an alcoholic. And something that I discovered when I got older was that alcoholics really don't grow up. When they had their problems in life, they drink their problems away. And my dad, he was very irritated. He had us, in his late 30s, I guess. I don't know. He just seemed irritated. He didn't have much patience. He had his issues with his father, which he said why he didn't do some of the things with us that he should have did because his father didn't do things with him. And my grandmother, his mother, married, and my grandfather, he was a hard man, so I know that my father was scarred. And growing up, my father, I don't know whether he was upset with life or what, he used to pick on me. And say some real hurtful things, slap me upside my head all the time. Eventually, when I got older, something in me snapped and I would fight my dad. Something that I'm not proud of, I asked the Lord to forgive me. And it was sad, just before my father passed, I was going to speak to him, but it didn't work out that way. But anyway, one of the things that I pleaded to God about was, how come my father and my mother's marriage lasts for 14 years? And all that time, my father wasn't a good father. He didn't instill good things into me and my sisters. He wasn't a good husband. But he had his marriage last for 14 years. And here I go, a loving father, a loving husband. Went to church with my family, went to Bible study with my family, did family activities together, prayed together with my family. And I couldn't even get a whole 6 years in. I didn't understand it. I was a better husband than my father was to my mother. I was a better father than my father was to my siblings and myself. And my father really didn't instill no good things into the family. But I was. But yet, I couldn't get, my marriage couldn't stand half of what his did with my mother. I didn't understand that. And that made me upset. I went through petty things. You know what I mean? All sorts of things, that I pleaded to God about. And I was angry and I was hurt and I didn't understand, you know? But talking to God, it gave me a relief. And living life and even taking the time to be silent and wait to hear from God. You know, gave me a lot of comfort, gave me revelation about life, my scenario. I don't know. I just really hope that I'm coming across correctly. Because what I basically want to convey is, man, we got to open up and cry out to God. We can't hold things in. We really have to open up and cry out to God. We do. There's people out here who are mourning loved ones, who are going through things that they don't understand. You know, there's parents out here who lost children to stray bullets. There's spouses out here who suffered betrayal, and are hurt. There's people out here who have done the right thing, but yet get a bad break. And to add insult to injury, they see people who walk down crooked paths prosper. There's people in this world who are hurting. There's people in this world who are going through some unfair circumstances. There's people out here who are just beat down. And I encourage you, cry out to God. Talk to God. Talk to him. Cry out. And I know one thing that I learned in my trials and tribulations is that God wills the best for us, And I hear people say, in tragic situations, oh, it was just their time. Oh, God was ready to take them home. Honestly, I'm not buying that. You think that a little boy in a barber chair who gets taken out of here by a stray bullet, you think that's God's will? then you don't know God. Unfortunately, sin has corrupted the nature of mankind. And people with their free will can choose to partake in good or evil deeds. And people just get caught up in the whirlwind, just caught up in the crossfire of mess. It's like we're in a sin has really got us in a gumbo of mess. It really does. It really does. And how life is, that wasn't God's will for us. Now, God can take our mess and do some things. He can take a person's tragedy and give that person the strength to go all out and help others. You know, I think of that scripture, the God of all comforts. You know what I mean? Who comfort us in our afflictions so we can comfort others. Now, I know that ain't what it actually says, but it says something like that. And I'll put the scripture at the bottom of this video after I post it. But a good example of that is John Walsh, whose son was kidnapped and decapitated in the 80s. A tragedy that almost ended his marriage. A tragedy that took his world and turned it upside down and set it ablaze. That hurt that he went through, it did send to him. To where as though he went all out with all his strength to make sure that others don't suffer as he did. He went after criminals full force. We'll never know how great the number of lives he saved by getting criminals off the streets, by exposing them. But that's one of the examples that I think of. How God can take somebody's, tragedy, you know what I mean? And turn it to a strength. But anyway, no matter what you're going through, in the midst of you going through it, God still loves you. And it's not God's will that you're suffering. If God could really have it his way, mankind wouldn't be in the situation that they're in. But, we messed up and sin's in the picture. So it is what it is. But no matter what you're going through, I encourage you just to cry out to God. Relieve your soul. Pray for guidance. Ask for help. Pray for healing. Ask God to take your hand on the journey And one thing I want to share too, one of the greatest things that I learned in my journey of healing and forgiveness, crying out to God, is that you really don't know forgiveness. You really don't know what forgiveness is until you really need it. I went through something in my marriage that it hurt me to my core. I had never been hurt like I was hurt by the situation that happened to me. And man, I was sad. I was angry. I'm telling you, it was just a whirlwind of emotions. And it was hard for me to forgive. But it wasn't until God humbled me in my journey and showed me wrong things that I had done. Not only the wrong things I'd done in my marriage, but other things I'd done wrong growing up, other things I'd done wrong to, other people. And it wasn't until I realized that I was in a need of mercy and forgiveness. And when it came to me wanting mercy and forgiveness, I wanted mercy and forgiveness. And I wanted God to even spare me and go light on me for the punishment that I may have reaped on myself. It wasn't until I realized that I was in need to be forgiven that I truly understood why I had to forgive. But again, that revelation came to me only by my relationship with God, crying out to Him, talking to Him, getting into His Word, finding answers in it, just living life. Because sometimes you just have to be still, and God will reveal things to you along the way. But anyway, I encourage you, if you're going through, cry out to God, talk to God. He loves you. He cares for you. He will get you through. Going through is not going to be easy, and it's not TV. Things ain't going to be over with and out the way in a half an hour. Some of the things we go through in life, God may indeed get us over it, but we're going to be left with scars. But don't hold it all in. Don't let rage poison your being. You'll self-destruct. I'm telling you this. Go to God and cry out to God. Go to God and cry out to God. No matter what you're going through, no matter what the trial or tribulation is, no matter the pain, bad consequences, the scenario, whatever you're going through, I'm telling you, go to God and cry out to God. Talk to Him, fellowship with Him. He'll get you through. This is Holy Warrior Yancey, and this is Holy Warrior Yancey Productions. Pray for me. Love you guys. Thank you for listening. Wow, this video was long. So if you really got through this whole video, please like, subscribe, even encouraging word. Again, love you and God bless.